All right. We've done a crapload of fishing. It's time to talk to Amy. And why do I get the feeling that Sonic did all that fishing as an excuse to, put off talking to Amy as long as possible?
So do you need to get the memory things in order to talk to Amy here, or is that just
you do.
Yeah, memory tokens are always requirements, although the actual talk to Amy main plot requirement is probably not one of the higher costs. But Island 1's memory token costs are pretty easy. It's Island 5 where the costs really ramp up.
But you said Island 5 was post-game.
Now, Island 5 is the last island of the game.
Oh, the last island, okay.
In one of the more awkward bits of design on Island 1, the tutorial section ends up being a place that you have to go back to just for, like, an optional cutscene or two. So you wind up teleporting back, triggering the cutscenes, and then never touching the place again, because it's not integrated with the rest of the open zone very well. Ah, well, it is what it is.
It's like if the island had like a miniature like peninsula, like attached to the bottom.
Archipelago would be the more accurate term, but yeah.
Archipelago?
Yeah.
No, I'm not familiar with that Pokemon.
Little chain of islands like Hawaii.
Maybe that link is giving you special insight? Maybe they use that link among themselves.
Okay.
I mean, they had it right. I've been saying we should switch to telepathy for years.
I'm just imagining Sonic standing here thinking, wow, when did you become so insightful, Amy? You can be pretty smart when you're not trying to tackle hug me out of nowhere.
Did Sonic just say that he has a map inside his brain, which is the map screen?
Yeah.
He talks to God.
The map screen is basically the island downloading map data directly into his mind, which is not a totally original concept. The Protheans in Mass Effect 3 end up being characterized as even in Mass Effect 1, now that I think about it, end up being characterized as transmitting information directly into people's minds. That was how they communicated. Apparently it's how these Protheans communicated too. Or the fucking, what are they called in Jak and Daxter?
The precursors?
Precursors, right. I was thinking Forerunners. But then I was like, wait, no, that's Halo. Yeah. Anyway.
Oh, so you're a fan.
I like how subdued his response is to that flat-faced insult. But yeah, okay.
She's literally calling me an asshole and said that I'm short-tempered and that I'm a dumbass and that I'm her enemy, but I don't get a bad vibe off of her,
Well, I mean, she said it so clinically that it's kind of...
She just stated facts, to be fair. It's not opinion, it's facts.
John, it's just a fact that you're wrong about all of these things and that you're bald, but, I don't mean you any ill will when I say those things.
No, but I am bald, though. It's a fact.
Yeah, but, just because something's true doesn't mean that you should say it. It's like...
I mean, yeah.
Okay, so what's going on here is that this game is saying, oh, yeah, honey, that dress does make you look fat. And I'm going to see how well that works out for everybody.
Well, I mean, it's more like asking the mirror... who's the fairest in the land, and the mirror just
am I the asshole?
And the mirror just laconically says, that girl over there. And you know what? That didn't work out so well for the queen, did it? Yeah, maybe there are some things you shouldn't say.
Are you saying they lost control of their tech and it wiped them out?
No.
I like how frustrated she sounds there. She's like, because she wasn't saying that. That was just Sonic taking a wild guess. And it actually isn't what happened. So, the problem with Sage being so, unwilling to talk is that she could have actually just told Sonic who the real final boss is this entire time.
And gone straight there, yeah.
Yeah. Well, not gone straight anywhere. I mean, how do you attack something that's not physically maniform in the
I
island?
mean, the final boss wouldn't have been accessible to Sonic or Sage at this point, but they could have at least talked about it and thought, okay, so my friends are trapped. Eggman is in cyberspace or whatever, but we can't really do anything about that without potentially freeing a world-destroying threat. So that's a problem. Maybe we should put our heads together and solve that.
To be fair, that is a plot point. Like, Sage is not allowed to consider possibilities of teaming up with Sonic until Eggman.
Yeah,
approves it.
Eggman just straight up forbids her from considering that possibility. Or specifically from running the simulations that would have told her whether or not it was a good idea. But, like, she considers the possibility of working with Sonic, but she has to ask for permission to, like, actually explore that possibility.
Yeah, which Eggman at first shuts down.
Yeah.
You know, because what's nothing to do with Sonic.
It's interesting because he's like, and because like Sage's argument is like, but you've worked together before and it worked out really well. And Eggman is just like, no, because he really hates the fact that they did work together, you know? And that's interesting because that's not really a point that games really ever acknowledge about Eggman is how he necessarily felt about the times where he had to work with Sonic.
Yeah, because it's not ever brought up because it was just like a necessary thing. It's just like, if I don't work with Sonic, the space station will crash and we will die, or the time stream will be destroyed. You know?
I mean, it's like the games always end right after that happens, and none of the games before this have ever really put much thought into how the characters feel about things that have happened in the past.
Yeah, because like after Adventure 2 is Heroes, and after 06 is Unleashed.
Oh, Jesus.
Okay,
You
so,
know, so it's like
questions. First off, why is there the goat minigame from what?
Psycho was thinking
Why
that
is
by
there the
itself.
goat minigame from Twilight Princess? Aren't we
Yeah,
mimicking
and also,
the
why
wrong
are these
Zelda
guys
game?
dropping bombs on us? We're trying to help them.
Okay, so one of the weaknesses of Sonic Frontiers is that it's kind of not very good at thinking up things for Sonic to do during gameplay while exploring the open zone. So a lot of the tasks that you do to complete the map or advance the plot are kind of not great. Like, they're not bad, but they're not great. So,
See, why are the Cocos dropping bombs on us? This is a good point. It was like, why couldn't it just be like a robot or a sentinel, like exploring there?
yeah, I'm not really sure why the Cocos drop bombs. That's always kind of... Anyway, plot twist. The Cocos are ghosts. Alien ghosts. And helping them resolve their past trauma sets them free. Bet you never expected to see that in a fucking Sonic game. When ghosts show up in Sonic, it's always a comedy relief thing.
Or King Boom Boo.
I mean, technically they're like virtual data ghosts or some shit.
Yeah, they're like avatars of the inhabitants that once lived in these islands.
Yeah, like the ghost in the machine or something.
Wait, these
But-
are the
Something like that.
Neopets that I left online and haven't fed in 20 years?
I hate that.
So their past traumas that they really want revenge on their past owner who abandoned them 20 years ago. Oh no.
Sounds good to me.
Also, the fact that their corpses are kind of there is a little dark, too.
Yeah. What Sonic Frontiers does with its tone is very somber, and it's kind of a credit to the dialogue writing in particular that the tone works at all, because somber is a tone that Sonic the Hedgehog could very easily have screwed up. Somehow they didn't screw it up. In fact, they managed to make it work.
I
really,
think a lot of that
really
has
well.
to go to the environment design, because, for example, this island's very deliberately cloudy. It's not like the kind of...
Well, actually, that's just a day-to-day weather system that's going on. So it's only cloudy right now by complete fucking coincidence.
No, but I've noticed that the colors in this game are deliberately muted.
Oh yeah, that's true of Islands 1, 4, and 5, which I'll use this sort of green grass theme. But Island 2 is just desert world, so not really all that tonally relevant, actually.
I mean, Island 3 is also pretty fucking muted too, depending on the time of the day as well.
Island 3 is just volcano land, though, so I don't really know how that lends itself to tone. But yeah, they do make an effort to keep the tone during gameplay quiet and piano-y and relaxed. But what I mean more is the story fitting that tone and not doing so awkwardly. Because, like, we're following a story where, effectively these characters are exploring these abandoned islands where an ancient culture used to live, and they're interacting with the ghosts of that culture. Except this is a story about a cartoon hedgehog who's making annoyed faces at the camera because he's impatient. It's kind of hard to mix those elements.
Care to explain how saving my friends is a bad thing?
You are an enemy combatant.
Oh, God.
Will not share
Sage, come on.
What is wrong with you? Sonic would never endanger anyone. He's even going to help this Coco reunite with their one true love.
Oh, I am.
That's not exactly that's not exactly relevant right now.
An emotional status too vague
Oh, what is love?
definition.
Baby, don't hurt me.
Whatever you say, little Spock girl.
Ignorant to be helped.
You're too ignorant to be helped, which is why I'm not going to share any light on your ignorance.
Aside from being a pain, no clue.
But, like, what I was trying to say is that it's actually just really interesting that they managed to pull this tone off with these specific characters while still making the characters feel like the characters they've always been. It's just kind of like, it's not...
Yeah, I think it would have been. It could have been very easy to make it very soap opera esque.
Well, a lot of Sonic is very soap opera.
Well, yeah, that's kind of what I'm saying is, like, when Sonic tries to do serious stories, it usually does end up being very melodramatic rather than dramatic.
Yeah, and I'm not saying you can't enjoy that level of cheese. It's just not personally when I like get invested in with a Sonic story. Personally,
Well, it's just really hard to nail the kind of tonal balance needed to make these elements work together naturally. And
Yeah.
well, Ian Flynn has some practice at that because it's basically his entire style in the comics. And yeah, I know some people don't necessarily really like Ian Flynn's style in the comics, but that is one of his strengths. It was not a strength that Ken Penders had, which is part of the reason people don't tend to fondly remember his time at the helm of the comic, because soap opera is the perfect word to describe that era.
Well, I think the big thing here is that there's a lot of cutscenes where they're just kind of talking and having character moments. Like,
Yeah.
take a game like, say, let's compare like Sonic Unleashed versus Sonic 06, just to pick two. Sonic Unleashed has a lot of just moments where characters are just talking and hanging out, and it doesn't necessarily move the story forward all that much, but you get to like see their personalities.
Yeah.
Versus a game like Sonic 06 where every cutscene has to move forward the plot, and there's not really any time for the characters to breathe at all, which is why you don't ever really get any, like, which is why so many of the characters feel so flat in that game. Like,
it's funny, like using 06 as an example. It's kind of odd. Like 06 does have those moments, but only with specific characters. Like Silver, I think, has.
well, they had to
good
do that for
character
Silver
moments.
because he's brand new.
Yeah,
and they have
because
to
he's the newbie.
They have to
Right.
establish his
Yeah.
personality. Like, we know
Yeah.
what Knuckles is. We're just going to assume he's dumb without ever showing it.
Yes. I would
Okay,
agree.
so this
Yes.
minigame fucking sucks. You're using the Paraloop to mow the lawn, literally.
This is a Zelda clone.
It's no more heroes.
Yeah.
So, like, basically what you need to do is get 7,000 points worth of grass done. But you also need to, like, keep the fucking bees busy for some reason. I'm not really sure why Sonic is suddenly afraid of bees. I'm pretty sure his hedgehog spines are bigger stingers than they've got. I don't think a bee would ever try to sting a hedgehog.
No, they're mean assholes.
Sonic.
Sometimes.
Sonic, what did Sage tell you? She told me to touch grass, and I took that personally. Can't touch grass if it's not there anymore.
Oh, damn.
I'm gonna mow this entire island.
So this minigame is not hard or particularly fun.
It's a Mario Party minigame.
It is a Mario Party minigame. You're right.
It does at least serve the purpose of giving you an opportunity to get used to how the quick side loop works if you happen to have unlocked it by this point.
Sonic, that's a terrible job mowing.
The one thing I kept forgetting about the quick side loop is that there's a meter attached to it. You have to fill the meter up by doing combos, and then you get 2 quick side loops before it empties again.
Wait, so
And,
you can just get Chaos Emeralds by mowing the lawn?
No, it's always the final 2 Chaos Emeralds.
Oh.
These are tied to the story.
Yeah,
Okay.
there are 2 plot relevant. There are 2 plot locked Chaos Emeralds, basically meant to stop you from going to the island boss before doing the cutscenes. But it's like there's never any explanation for how the Chaos Emeralds ended up there or where Sonic found them while he was doing this random bullshit. So it's a bit weird.
Not any more or less weird than just having a random special zone space where they exist.
Yeah, but you see, the thing about Ian Flynn is that if he really tried, he would explain the special stages.
The comics explain the special stages, actually.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. Well, actually, it's weird because the older comics had one explanation for the special stages, which was really bizarre. And then Ian Flynn sort of recontextualized that when he merged the 70 billion Chaos Emeralds of the universe into 7. That was a trip of a story arc, by the way. Turbo Tales is best tales.
No.
Okay, so I was actually honestly expecting something a little bit more, like, substantial to revealing that Sage is Dr. Eggman's, I don't know, like, Alexa.
So, anyway, one of the most interesting things about the Sage and Eggman relationship, by the way, is the fact that Eggman named her Sage at all. Because that's actually, like, a really clever name for an AI. But it's like, why would Eggman name something with that mentality? It's interesting to think about. Because Sage is an herb. You know, it's the kind of name you might name your daughter, but it also has the double meaning of being like a really wise and smart person, which is perfect for an AI.
You see, maybe this is me playing too many...
Squid!
Okay, now I know what you're talking about.
Finally it happened.
So, like, maybe this is me playing too many RPGs, but I associate the, like, wise old guy with a beard, Sage, way more than, like, something you put on your spaghetti. Would you put Sage on spaghetti? I don't know. I don't
think you put Sage on a spaghetti now.
Well, I mean, Sage. I don't think you see Sage quite so often in cooking, quite so much as like herbology, you know, like Wicca books and whatnot.
Oh, so that's why I haven't heard about that, because I'm not the big titty goth girlfriend, nor will I ever have one. Okay. Unless one is interested, applications are open.
Okay.
This reminds me a lot of Sonic and the Secret Rings, which I'm going to point out is not necessarily a good thing.
Well, mechanically, it's a lot closer to the. It looks like these roads were built for me, roads from Boom, but you know.
I think of the Nagel Wisp from Sonic Colors.
It's almost like there's a lot of points in Sonic where you just kind of run on a never-ending road until you stop.
No, this is absolutely unique to this. Sonic has never done this before.
This was a good way to demonstrate that once you've upgraded your attack power any amount, the combat becomes like ridiculously trivial. This is going to be a running theme throughout the game because my attack and defense stats will always outpace the difficulty curve of every island I'm on from now on.
And this is without buying the digital deluxe edition of the game too, which gives you like 25 levels of power and defense seats from the get-go.
I think I actually had those.
That is something that's not just this game. This is something that can happen in a lot of open world games. For example, I'm playing Pokemon right now, and I'm trying to, like, you know, explore thoroughly because that's just the kind of gamer I am. And I'm already like 10 levels above the areas I'm exploring.
To be fair, part of the reason for that is that in Scarlet and Violet, they went really super cautious on the early game difficulty curve, and as a result, like both of the directions you can go at the start of the game after you start at school have like nothing but one Pokemon trainers as far as the eye can see, to the point where it almost feels like a difficulty spike when they start using 2 or 3. It's a bit weird. Like, they didn't really have time to fine-tune the difficulty curve in that game, so they went a little super cautious and easy on it. And it kind of undermines the game, to be honest, because, like, you can outpace the game's challenge so fast. Especially if you do the raids and get EXP candies. Oh, well.
Send me too, so we can find
I will record that game for this channel someday. After they patch it a couple dozen times and it runs like a game should. Maybe.
I was honestly, it was weird seeing Amy be mad at Sonic. I'm
It
gonna
was.
point out. Yeah.
Well, she wasn't really mad. She was just kind of like...
You're acting out of character.
No, it's not. It's not
You're
out of character. It's in character. It's a. I'm not mad about this specifically. I'm mad at you about something else.
No, I was more saying that she was mad that Sonic was quote unquote acting out of character. Because
She wasn't mad exactly, but she was being forceful, which is not something you see Amy do with Sonic a lot. So it was interesting to see her put her foot down and argue with him about something. Because most of the time in this series, when she's interacting with Sonic, she's like, oh, it's Sonic, I should tackle hug that guy. And then it turns out it's a fucking werehug or something. And she thinks it's not Sonic, but it actually is. And that's still one of the funniest interactions in the series. Just because Sonic kind of reacts poorly to it. He's like, wait, hang on. Even Amy doesn't recognize me? Ah, I'm taking this oddly personally. I thought this was what I wanted, but it's not.
all of these cutscenes in order to
yes,
get. Okay, so you have to see all of the Amy cutscenes in order to.
not all.
Well,
not all.
only the colored Amy cutscenes. Like any of the pink icons, essentially with Amy's head on it, are important.
Just scenes like this, where there's actual like cutscene direction. All of the standing around talking cutscenes, those are optional.
Oh, I get what you're talking about with Chaos. It looks like almost just like them.
Yeah.
Only like.
Wow,
yeah.
the Coco inside that male one looks really pissed off for some reason. The thing about the Cocos is that they were originally these kind of charms that the Chaos species used. So the little Cocos inside them are like necklaces or some shit. They're just accessories, and the ghosts ended up haunting them. It's weird.
But yeah, you can piece together now, based on that cutscene alone, that Chaos is the last of the ancients.
He's kind of like a mutated version of the Ancients, and if you actually like examine the peripheral lore of Sonic, the Chow themselves are an even further mutated version of the same species. So I guess the Chow are all that's left of this civilization now. That's interesting.
They're together now.
It's weird because like they became these little baby people who can't talk and have no civilization of their own. But
Well, can't talk yet, to be fair, because I don't think we've ever seen a child develop past.
I mean,
Childhood.
they do go ah ba 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 ooh 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 ah ba ba ba.
Yeah,
the-
absolutely. So now you're speaking my
the
language.
final development of a Chow is to become something closer to Chaos that doesn't die. And that's something you'd only know if you got really deep into the Chow breeding system. Because like that's the ultimate goal of any Chow breeder is to make the
But who's to say that, like lore-wise, a Chow at that point can't grow further?
Yeah.
You know, at that point, the child just becomes immortal, but it can still grow up, though.
It's just like we don't have enough information in the lore to know what the missing 10,000 years worth of links between
we just don't know.
between the original alien species and Chaos, the god of destruction, are. You know, we just know that they're related, and that's interesting enough to think about. But
Well, actually, hold on. Isn't because the implication is that perfect Chaos is Chaos's true form, and Chaos Zero is like his baby form.
Perfect Chaos is Chaos with all the emeralds, not necessarily its true form, but its form with all the emeralds.
But if he's Chaos Zero, that means he's got no things. It's zero.
Yeah, because he has no emeralds. Exactly. I would argue that's his true form because he doesn't have any sort of accessories to help aid
In
his
my
growth.
view, the Jedi are evil.
Oh, for fuck's sake, Anakin, we've been through
I think
this.
the point is that you're not necessarily supposed to know all the details, but the connection is really interesting, and it kind of recontextualizes what Chaos is. And that by itself makes it more fun to go back to Sonic Adventure and re-experience that story with a new context, you know?
Just fun to talk about in general, too.
Yeah. But I don't think we're ever going to find out the answers to these questions. So,
Something's never changed.
fan fiction fodder. Yay. Now, if only the Sonic the Hedgehog fan fiction community was worth a damn. Seriously, they don't write anything. Come on.